As you take a walk down Michigan Avenue, safe to say you typically stop as you wait for the light to change. But if you look to your right, there's a statue. It honors Buffalo African American veterans past, present, and future. This is Jesse Clipper Square. You might be asking yourself, who? Well, to get the answer, we must head to the Colored Musicians Club, where Dr. Diane Cookfair says the research into Buffalo's hero started because
I was curious.
for 12 years,
Off and on when I had time.
Cookfair would search old newspapers, census records to find out more about the man this park is named after.
Just a fascinating story. And the longer I went, the more I wanted to know.
Her husband, Craig Steger, helped her along the way.
The stuff of movies. This man is a local legend.
Clipper's story starts in Salt Lake City, Utah, in April of 1882 when he was born. Over the years, he hopscotched across the country, loved and lost 2 wives to illness, eventually making his way to Buffalo around 1915. And this is where we explain why this interview was being held at the Colored Musicians Club. You see, Clipper was a famous African-American entertainer. His vaudeville act with his second wife, Della, had them headlining major venues.
We were considered something special.
And turns out Clipper was quite the trombone player.
Did play it well according to reviews.
Once Clipper made Buffalo home, this is where his life takes on a new legacy.
He's one of the founding fathers of this union, and again, the club would be formed from that.
Local 533 was founded in 1917. It was the Colored Musicians Union, a game changer for African American entertainers, a way to reach their dreams and lift up the community.
They gave a lot to the city, and I think that came from the influence of Mr. Jesse Clipper.
Clipper was vice president. Unfortunately, though, he never got to see the club filled with musicians and toes tapping. At 35, he signed up for the U.S. Army, not drafted as other history tells it, and was sent to France to fight in World War I. He then became known as Buffalo's hero, the first African American from the city to die in the war. And this is where Commander Eugene L. Pierce of Jesse Clipper Post 430 comes in.
There was little information except that he was a private and he worked in a laundry in Buffalo. I said, it's got to be more than that.
Also on the quest for answers of his own, during a 2017 trip overseas, the commander visited Clipper's gravesite, and this was no easy find. His name in the cemetery records was James Clipper.
I says, what's on the grave marker? He says, Jesse W. Clipper, Corporal.
Because of Pierce's determination, after 98 years, Clipper is now properly identified, and his story is finally being told thanks to these 4 curious people. The text and images you've been seeing throughout this story is the first of 2 articles in Western New York Heritage magazine, connecting us all to a man we can thank for not only our liberty, but just maybe some of the music we know and love.
But we just thought it was time that people know his story because, as it turns out, he was a hero in more ways than just, I went to war and I died.